Hi guys. I only have like an hour why? Every time with the glasses, like they're dirty. Every time I go to record a video. I'm re-recording this video because I went to edit it today and it was almost 3 hours long. I just was not concise with my explanations. I could not get my point across at all. Like, for the life of me, I just couldn't do it. Sorry, I'm pulling up my notes here. So I'm gonna... This Google two-step verification, is anyone else like super irritated by this? So anyway, instead of trying to like piece together some semblance of like an explanation in that previous video, I'm just gonna do a new one. So just to preface this video, I did not like this book. And I'm gonna explain myself in excruciating detail. So The Cabin by Natasha Preston. So we have, you know, this dilapidated house. There's no stairs leading to that porch. There's a broken window, or I suppose it could be like an open window, but it looks like the windows are broken. It's got this flower that has like cobwebs or spider webs on it. It looks eerie. It looks creepy. Then we have the summary for the book is just a weekend partying at a remote cabin is just what Mackenzie needs. She can't wait to let loose with her friends, but a crazy night of fun leaves 2 of them dead, murdered. With no signs of a forced entry or struggle, suspicion turns to the 5 survivors. Someone isn't telling the truth, and Mackenzie's first mistake, assuming the killing is over. It's like clickbait. Like, what you see is not what you get here. The cover, like, really caught my eye. It pulls you in as far as dark, creepy murder mystery goes. From the summary and from looking at the cover, I had assumed that it was going to be a locked door mystery. They're in the cabin, they can't leave for whatever reason. It's the middle of summer, so it wasn't going to be like they got snowed in or something, but like, y'all have to stay locked in there with the killer kind of a thing. That is not the case. I will say on the cover, the cabin is like super dilapidated as well, and the cabin that they go to is well maintained. And then with the highlighted flower here, she puts a different flower on every book that she writes. Personally, for me, if the flower doesn't have something to do with the story, like the killer leaves a flower behind or something along those lines, it needs to not be on the cover. I understand in this case it probably has some personal significance to her for whatever reason, so I'm not like giving it marks off for that. So it's not detracting from my like scoring of the book, but it does irritate me a lot. Okay, so then again, the summary is like, ooh, super misleading. So the actual summary for the book here, because I don't like this one. 7 friends all go away to their friend's cabin. So Josh, his family owns the cabin. It's not run down, it's just like left empty for most of the year. So he and his girlfriend went ahead of everybody to just like clean it. There is a heavy emphasis on drama as they are preparing to go to the cabin and their first little while at the cabin. Josh's older brother, Blake, joins them last minute, and he is just trying to reconcile with his brother, basically. But nobody else knows him. So people have seen him, they know of him, but he's not connected to anybody. Mackenzie is the main character who voices everything. She is deliberately trying to avoid Josh and all the drama that comes with him. So she and Blake are kind of the odd ones out, and they kind of just are both on the fringes near each other. Aaron and Megan also kind of stick together. If one of them's in the kitchen, the other one follows, that kind of a thing. Kyle is by himself. He doesn't really partner up with anybody. And then we have Courtney and Josh. So they are the resident couple. They are glued to each other and basically kind of calling the shots on everything. They all wake up in the morning and they discover that someone's been a bit naughty with the slashy sometime in the night. Big heads up if you want to actually experience the book like naturally, do not skip ahead, and especially don't read like the last couple pages. So I gave the whole book a 2 out of 5. I definitely don't recommend anybody reads this book. Like it needs some help, but I'm not trying to like keep people from reading it. The author's writing style I was okay with. You know, not my favorite, but definitely not the worst. She does use a lot of modern language, which I like. She does have a very juvenile and immature writing style, not in like age but as in like writing age. So she uses a lot of devices that we see immature writers, like people who haven't been writing for very long, use. It's like super distracting for me as an editor, but it really took me out of the book in quite a few places. I thought her character development was so-so. It was okay. She does a good job of slowly giving out information about each character's motive. I definitely think there were other ways to like optimize how she got the information across to the reader. It does technically like meet my standards. I thought her plot was a 2. Like there were a lot of opportunities that she missed. A lot of things she left hanging that didn't get tied up. Like, I'm gonna be totally honest as far as the plot goes. This is the kind of thing that I get as a first draft from a writer, and I definitely wouldn't consider it a final draft that I would send to publishing. It was nowhere near as creepy as it could have been. I just feel like there were a lot of opportunities for really cool twists. There were quite a few times where she left behind where things didn't get fixed. So clearly she had like 2 separate ideas and had written both of them. She was going like one direction with a scene, and then a couple paragraphs later you'll see that the other direction that she went with didn't get fully edited out. So you actually end up with like conflicting information. It pulled me out of the book. It had a lot of promise. It just never came to fruition the way that I felt like it should have or could have. There were just a lot of changes that I would have made or brought to her attention at the very least as an editor. That's all that I have for you guys. There will be a little discussion piece at the end. For everybody that doesn't want spoilers, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell me how you feel about any of her books. I've not read any of the other ones, or if you have any additional information about the flower on the cover, that would be nice to know about. I will see you guys again soon with another video. Thank you for watching. Okay, so spoilers. So I'm gonna try and be like quick about this, but okay, so the romance. We all know Raina is not a romance reader. I have very, very high standards for my romance. This was not it. I felt it was very poorly written. The whole thing just feels like I'm watching 2 middle schoolers try to flirt with each other. She goes back and forth between pushing the other person away, sometimes flirtatiously, sometimes not. In the same vein, they have these really intense, deep conversations with like no preface, absolutely no build up to it. Like day 1, like we've known each other 15 minutes. That was too much for me. It's very awkward and uncomfortable to be having this discussion with someone like right off the bat. So I just would have reorganized some of their conversations to get progressively more involved. Still technically kind of part of romance. So I have a direct quote from her. The quote is, "I found myself wanting to get to know him, but I wasn't sure why." So this is a writing device that I absolutely hate, where they tell you instead of showing you. Like if you feel like you have to tell the reader how to feel or what we should be paying attention to, you need to reword it so you're showing them instead. If you want your main character to be intriguing or to be intrigued by another character, just make them intriguing. So in this situation, I would have Mackenzie and Blake spend a little bit more casual time together. I would specifically bring up a couple things, have him allude to something very briefly, and have her think, I want to know what's going on with him and Josh. Like, I need to know more about this story. And then I would just kind of try to have the relationship flow a little bit more naturally, where like the next time that they talk, she brings up 2 or 3 of the questions that she has, and he answers them maybe in full, maybe only partially, and then she has to come back a 3rd time to get even more answers. Also, physical attraction is absolutely a valid reason for why 2 characters want to like be together, but not knowing why a character is interested in another character is just BS. Okay, so after first discovery, I had a lot of questions because a lot of things weren't clear to me. She mentions that there's only 1 double bed in the house. We don't know how many rooms there are, as far as I'm aware. Mackenzie and Blake are together in, I assume, the double bed. British singles? There's no way. I guess one could be theoretically creative and make it work. We're not told, and there's no explanation, but I'm going to assume that they were in the double bed that night. So she should have already wondered, like, where were Josh and Courtney? This was just, like, so ambiguous and confusing, but this was also one of those times where I feel like she had, like, 2 different versions, and some paragraphs were from one version and some were from another. For me, at this point, at the time of first discovery, in order of suspicion, I have Megan. I had Kyle at 0.01% and Aaron at 0.05%. Aaron's just a little bit more aggressive, but pretty sure neither of them were involved. Blake is bottom of the barrel, but it's technically possible. Theoretically, his hooking up with Mackenzie could have been an attempt at an alibi, but it genuinely felt like he was just waking her up like, let's not sleep on the couch. And he just so happened to get lucky. Like, he wasn't planning on it. It was like a bonus. We also know Megan wasn't drunk or drugged when she went to bed. This is like one of the only times where I feel like we needed less information. That information given to us that Megan sometimes pretends to be drunk should have been given to us later, maybe, in that, like, Mackenzie goes, oh, you know, sometimes I've seen her pretend to be drunk. Maybe she actually wasn't. Having that as, I really don't think she was that drunk. Maybe I'm wrong. And then having her kind of cleared of that when the drug tests come back later, just have that suspicion hanging over Megan's head would have been nice, but whatever. The other characters needed to be a lot more suspicious at that point in order for me to think that they had anything to do with it. So a plot hole that we never address is later out finding the blood was Aaron's, right? He says he cuts his hand on a piece of glass and then throws it in the cabin while he's out walking with Megan. This whole thing should have been expanded upon to bring more suspicion on him. Or at the very least, explained later. Just being like, no, I cut my hand and I threw it in there. Like, what were you doing that your hand got cut? First of all, like, why was your hand near broken glass? 2, why did you just throw the glass into this, like, abandoned shack? Like, what was the story there? What's happening? We never address it. That was probably when I was the most suspicious of Aaron, but he was always going to be like a secondary killer. Okay, and then, as I've said a couple times, as far as character development goes, I would have suggested that she focus on the motives, like, right from the start, maybe even when they're, like, packing up the cars. It would have fixed a lot of the unnatural feelings in the plot, and it would have given her opportunity to fill in some of these plot holes a little bit. I reread the first scenes up until the police get there, and there actually were so many opportunities to add in suspicious behavior. So I feel like she actually added in certain actions as a means to kind of hint at their motives, but it should have been more glaringly obvious. So for instance, Kyle, right? There were a couple times where Kyle and Josh, like, kind of exchange words, and I feel like she could have had Kyle make a few slight comments, kind of hinting at his and Courtney's affair on the side. I'm just saying, like, there were opportunities that would have just bumped it up, like, just made it a little bit more satisfying. It wouldn't have, like, you know, fixed the other problems, but that would have gone a long way. A little bit of hypocritical character development, specifically around, like, Aaron and Kyle. She has, like, the same character having, like, 2 conflicting personality traits. Aaron is described as this more aggressive protector. We don't actually see these behaviors. This is another one of those telling, not showing things. And then we have Aaron also being the one in love with Tilly. Kyle is the one that is comforting her. He brings her chocolate when she's upset. So my suggestion, if somebody had come to me, this is what my suggestion would have been to them. I would have made Kyle in love with Tilly, have them have the relationship, and then have him also be in love with Mackenzie. Kyle would have had some guilt about having feelings for Mackenzie. I also feel like he was, like, a softer character, so grief and guilt would work very well for him. And I would have had Aaron have the affair with Courtney because he's a little bit more aggressive. He seems like the kind of person that if he wants something and he really doesn't like the person who's going to be inconvenienced or upset about it, then he doesn't care about their feelings. So if Josh is the only person that's going to be hurt by the affair, he's not even going to take Josh's feelings into consideration. And then it also makes sense if Josh were to have found out about the affair, Aaron being more aggressive, you know, if they were in an altercation, it would make more sense for him to kill Josh. Okay, so then she brings in Felicity. Felicity literally served no function. She didn't add to the story at all. The only information that she gave Mackenzie was to say Kyle's been hanging around, which we could have done without spending a lot of time introducing a new character. If you're going to introduce a whole new character 2/3 of the way through the book, be very careful about it. Okay, so then we have all these plot devices. So she uses red herrings, but she never actually follows through with them. So like the locked front door thing, for instance. And it needs to be fully actualized. Like we never figure out whether the front door was locked or unlocked, we have no idea. And then this whole Gossip Girl texting thing, it didn't actually add to the story. If you wanted to keep it in there, then there were ways that we could have done that and had it be more impactful. Like it could have been used for something and instead it wasn't used at all. Okay, so then we have, as far as plot goes, the plot for the ending, it was terrible. And everybody hated it. Like even the people that really liked the book hated the ending. Like the ending was awful. And I feel like just another 30 or 50 pages would have had a really natural conclusion that everyone would have enjoyed. All endings for all books need to have resolutions. It should never end without anything wrapped up. It's just frustrating and you're gonna lose readers. It's so important. I just feel like we just missed the mark with this book. That's all that I have to say about that. I do not plan on reading any of her other books. If you think The Cellar is better, let me know. If there is ever an edited version, I would love to read it because I really think it could be so good. So let me know how you felt about it down below. Don't forget to comment, give me suggestions and recommendations. We can discuss your feelings about this book if you think that I was wrong or whatever. The links for everything are down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all the things. And I will see you guys again soon with another video. Bye guys.